Hello, and welcome to this next episode of the King Lincoln Show. Today I want to continue telling you the story of my shitty but perhaps somewhat interesting life. And I want to hopefully finish telling you about when I lived in a Buddhist monastery for 5 months and some of the crazy characters I met there and some of the uh, interesting things that happened. But first, I want to do a quick recap of UFC Freedom 250, the White House card. It was really crazy card. Every fight ended in a finish, and every fight was like, yeah, pretty crazy. Um, and then the main event obviously was fucking crazy, but we'll get to that. So Diego Lopez beat the crap out of Steve Garcia. That was pretty cool. Bo Nickel beat this Kyle guy by knockout. He's typically like Bo Nickel's a wrestler, but he's obviously been working a lot on his striking because he front kicked him and then KO'd him with punches. That was pretty cool. He gave a bit of a gay speech afterwards, but that's fine. So I didn't do predictions for those two because I didn't know who Kyle and Steve Garcia were. Rufy versus Chandler. Yeah, Rufy or Ruffy, however you say his name, knocked him out. And he did. So I was right about that prediction, and he did throw that wheel kick. So I was right about that too. But then, yeah, he finished him with punches. Josh Hockett versus Derek Lewis. I was right about this one too. Yeah, Lewis didn't really look like he trained. He kind of looked out of shape. He's getting old. He should really retire. And someone said he might have been injured as well. And Hockett basically swarmed on him, outworked him, outstruck him, and finished him. Sean O'Malley versus Zahabi. Yeah, second round KO. Awesome left hand followed up by a right hand. I was right about this one too, and yeah, you gotta be a wrestler to beat Sean O'Malley. Like his striking is just so good, so sharp, like just so great with his range, his like timing, everything. So that was a sick knockout. He got another walk-off KO like I was hoping he would. And he was saluting. He was walking off and saluting before Zahabi even hit the ground. That was pretty epic. So he gets another highlight for his reel. Some people were saying it was an early stoppage. I don't really think so. I think Zahabi was pretty much done. He was just going to be eating more shots if you left it going. Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gahn. I was wrong about this one, unfortunately. I mean, I did pick Alex to win and I wanted Alex to win, but I did think like, yeah, I wasn't sure who was going to win. And I was kind of right about what I was worried about. Like, Cyril Gahn was really good with his movement and his jabs. He was also very good with his low kicks. And he basically just outstruck Alex. He out-finessed him. And yeah, he dropped him with a jab and then finished him. And that's heavyweight. Like, that's the difference between going up to heavyweight and being a natural heavyweight. I don't think Alex, like, yeah, fully, like, knew about the power. Like, you can get dropped just with a jab in heavyweight. And that's what Cyril Gahn did. And yeah, so I'm sad about that one. I was hoping Alex would whoop his ass because Cyril Gahn is a dirty fighter. And you saw that even in um this fight. There were heaps of shots to the back of the head when it was finishing, and Cyril Gahn just didn't give a fuck. He was just beating the crap out of the back of Alex's head. But that people were complaining about that, but I don't think that changed anything about the fight. Like, I think Alex would have been finished anyway. It didn't matter, but it's just showing that Cyril Gane is a bit of a piece of shit. He's a dirty fighter. He loves poking eyes, he loves kicking nuts, and he loves hitting you in the back of the head. So I'm upset about that, but yeah. Cyril Gane, you have to accept, is a really good striker at heavyweight. And yeah, you're better off being a wrestler or grappler trying to beat him like John Jones did. And yeah, Alex looked kind of maybe kind of awkward, uncomfortable, like kind of slow at heavyweight, and yeah. So I was wrong about that one. And now, oh my fucking god, the main event. I was totally wrong about this one, as pretty much everyone was. Justin Gaethje beat the absolute shit out of Ilia Topuria, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I thought Justin was gonna, try to slug it out with him, but he was gonna be too sloppy. He was gonna leave an opening somewhere, and Ilia was just gonna snipe him, take him out. One huge punch, rock him, and then finish him. And I said somewhere in the first to third round. I was totally wrong, as pretty much everyone was. Justin, yeah, was just like really, really good. He pretty much outboxed Ilia. It was largely boxing. And Justin did come in with a game plan and like change his style a bit, like adapt his style to Ilia. But he also did just make it a typical Justin Gaethje fight and just make it dirty and ugly and violent and just brutalize him. But he jabbed a lot more than usual. He usually doesn't throw that many jabs. He was more cautious and more measured than with Paddy Pimblett. He threw more jabs and kept kind of like within striking distance but at range more. He didn't really throw leg kicks. I'm not sure why he doesn't really throw that many leg kicks anymore. Maybe there is some kind of injury. But I was thinking for this fight specifically, Ilia would be looking to time his leg kicks, and he was like aware of that, and that's why he didn't throw that many. Not sure if he threw any. But he did throw high kicks, which I also thought was really good. Because Ilia dips his head and he's been caught with high kicks before. And yeah, he did a really good job of, he would box with him, but then he would mix stuff in. So he'd mix in dirty boxing, he'd mix in that collar tie, get the collar tie to uppercut that he often gets. Yeah, I heard Justin's coach, Trevor Whitman, talking about different angles and things that they worked on to catch Ilia. I didn't really understand. I didn't listen to that deeply enough to understand it, but yeah, they prepared so well. And yeah, fucked up his face, fucked up his eyes, and he couldn't continue. It's not clear whether Ilia quit or whether his team said, nah, you're not going out. But it doesn't matter. Like, he wasn't going to win. If he went out again, he probably would have just got knocked out and got a huge concussion. So seeing how his face was all brutalized, probably one of his orbital bones was broken. Like, apparently part of his bone was sticking out of his skin. I'm not sure if that's true, but yeah, it does look shit, like throwing in the towel at that big event, but there was no point going out. Like, it wasn't a good idea to go out. I think it might have been Ilia's brother who said, nah, he's not going out. But yeah, man, Justin shocked the world. Like, I hoped that would happen. I was like, oh, wouldn't that be crazy if Justin knocks him out? But I didn't actually think it would happen. I was like, yeah, Ilia will just do his thing. But man, Justin, what a fucking animal. So fucking crazy. Yeah, we always underestimate Justin, don't we? Like, I always thought of Justin as like really good, but not quite the absolute like best. I used to think Dustin Poirier was better than Justin, but then Justin beat him, and Dustin never got the title, but now Justin has it. Partly it's just the way it plays out, but yeah, so crazy, man. And I actually think Justin should retire now. Like nothing he does is ever gonna top this. He has those photos of him doing a backflip, like with the White House in the background and all that shit. Like nothing can possibly top this. I think he should retire. He's turning 38. He's a lightweight. It'd be a perfect moment to retire on top. And he get all the sponsorships and all this shit. Do I think he'll actually do that? Probably not. I think he loves fighting. He just like, I don't know, he gets something out of that violence, and he somehow makes fighting seem more violent than like almost anyone else. And I don't think he'll retire, but I think he should. It'd be awesome if he does. It'd be such a good like note to go out on. But yeah, I don't think he will, unfortunately. What about Ilya? What will happen to him? Well, he's only 29. I think he'll recover and come back. He did take a lot of damage, but some people are saying, oh, Justin did more damage to Ilya than he even did to Tony Ferguson. I don't think that's true. Tony Ferguson, Justin fucked him up. Like, Justin ruined him. He did beat Ilya up, but I don't think he did as much damage to him as to Tony. But yeah, crazy fights, amazing to watch. And yeah, that's my recap of that. So yeah. Okay, so now to the main topic of today. I wanted to hopefully finish telling you about when I lived in a Buddhist monastery, like I started last week. Not last week, sorry, last time. So I didn't get to telling you about the different people that I met and who lived there and stuff. So the kind of leader, the abbot of the monastery, the leader or like the abbot is called an Ajahn. I think Ajahn means like teacher, so not just the abbot, but different senior monks can be called Ajahn. I've forgotten his name, but he was an interesting guy because he was probably like in his 30s, and he used to work in finance. And then he went on a trip to Thailand or something. He was an Asian guy. I think he was Vietnamese or something, not Thai, but yeah, so he did some kind of meditation retreat in the Thai forest tradition in Thailand, and he he first wanted to learn meditation because he thought it could help him predict the future, and then he could like predict like stocks and stuff to do with finance. I think that's so funny. He's like, oh, maybe this can help me predict the future. He thought like maybe meditation would give him superpowers. I think that's fucking hilarious. But obviously it didn't, and meditation doesn't do that. And then from there he got interested in meditation and Buddhism, like for its own sake in general. And yeah, he became a monk, and eventually I think he trained in Thailand as a monk, and then he came to Australia and became a monk here and became the abbot of this place. Yeah. And one of his little like habits, I remember you would try to say something to him, and he'd be like, yeah, like that. I'm like, all right, I wasn't finished. You gotta listen. But you'd be like talking to him, and like you'd be almost finished. Then he'd be like, yep, yeah, and then he'd like start talking about what he wanted to talk about. I didn't think that was very like monk-like, but that was funny. One of his funny little quirks. And yeah, I don't know, not that much to say about him. He was pretty cool. He was a nice guy. One annoying thing he did would be like, if he wanted to say something to you, sometimes he wouldn't say it to you directly. He would put it in his Dharma talk, like the next morning or whatever. that was a bit annoying. I was like, if you want to say something to me, just say it to me, you know? Don't put it in your talk. So, for example, this one time, um, I learned something. There's something in Buddhism called a kasina. I think that's how you say it. And a kasina is just like a little, like a colored dot that you meditate on. Like you visualize this dot. Um, you can first have it like a physical dot that you stare at, but then when you get used to it, you visualize it. And I was really interested when I learned about this because it seemed like the same as what they have in Raj Yoga that I learned from yoga, like a dot that you meditate or like a symbol or spot that you meditate on. And I didn't realize they had that in like Theravada Buddhism. And I was like, I was just showing interest in it. I was like, oh wow, you have that in Buddhism? I didn't know that. Because we basically just did like breath meditation. And then I did my own self-inquiry meditation. But then he didn't say that anything about that at the time. Like all I did was show an interest in it because I was like, oh wow, I think Raj Yoga was influenced by Buddhism or the other way around. And I was just curious about that. And then he was like, in his next Dharma talk, he was like talking about like, oh, people get distracted so easily. Like, um, people are like, oh, I don't want to do breath meditation anymore. I want to meditate on a kasina. Yeah, the light blue kasina, that's what I need. And like, why can't people just focus? Why did they get bored? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it was a dig at me. And I was like, that's not very nice. If you want to say that to me, say it to me. Don't fucking put me in your talk. He didn't say it was about me, but he just put that in his talk. Like, I don't like that. Like, just talk to me directly. Don't you think that's a bit of an odd thing to do? And he did that a bunch of times. And yeah, I found that a little bit annoying. But it doesn't matter. I just like talking shit. He was a really nice guy. Um, then there was a very funny character. Uh, I guess I shouldn't tell you his real name, but um, he was this monk. He was another Asian guy, but I don't know where he was from. Maybe Vietnam, I don't really know. But I don't think he was Thai. But both these guys were you could tell, they spoke English from birth and everything. They weren't like Thai people, but he was like this fat guy, and he didn't seem to take monastic life seriously at all. Like, he would show up at the meditations and he'd look all tired. He'd eat like shitloads of food at lunch. And he'd always be going on about like just wanting to like eat and like not do anything and take everything easy. Um, One time he was like talking about like how he wished we had beer, and like another layperson, like non-monk, was like, "Oh, you're joking, right? You mean like non-alcoholic beer?" And he was like, "Nah, I want the real stuff." And like, it's just like such a wrong thing for a monk to say. He didn't seem serious about any of the rules or anything. And I told you about allowables, so like there's only one meal a day for the monks, so it's at lunchtime, and after 12 they're not allowed to eat, and we pretty much follow those rules as lay people living there as well. But there's something called allowables. There's a few foods you can have um like in the evening, uh as like a little like snack thing. So there's a few things, I forget what they are. Like dark chocolate. I think you can have like drinks like cocoa and stuff. You might be able to have dried fruit or something. I forget. But one time, like, we went up to like near where the monks' huts were, and he came down, and it was like the morning, and he was eating pieces of cheese. And I guess cheese must be one of the allowables, which, is weird, but he was like kind of like bending the rules to their absolute limit by having pieces of cheese for breakfast and saying like technically it's not breaking the rules because it's an allowable and it's outside the typical eating times, but he was just like blatantly like eating these chunks of cheese and I was like, what the fuck? And I'm pretty sure like obviously he had to come to like the meditations and the Dharma talks and like stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure outside of that, like he would just go back to his hut and just like laze around. I don't think he did any of his own practice or anything. And he was saying like, oh, being a monk, it's not that bad. Like the first 5 years is like hard, but then you get everything back, like you get your phone back, you get this back, you get that back. And I was like, dude, he has his phone, like he has a phone. So he's probably just like in his little hut all day, just playing on his phone. Yeah, that's not really being a monk, that's being a bum. Like, that's totally taking advantage of the system. And people are donating money and like coming and donating food and stuff because they think you're practicing a spiritual practice. They think you're like doing something for the world and stuff and doing something that people respect by dedicating your life to meditation practice. But you're just like doing like watching Netflix and playing games on your phone all day and like lazing around and taking people's food and stuff. So he was a kind of funny guy, like he was quite likable, but he was also a silly person and really you shouldn't do that kind of thing. It's kind of, not the best thing to be doing. Then there was an English monk who was there some of the time. He was a really old, wrinkly, I wanted to say bald, but they all have shaved heads anyway. But he was this old, wrinkly English guy. And these guys, like, they're monks, they always wear, like, kind of brown, orangey brown robes and stuff, like, that's all they wear. But it was funny seeing this English guy in the robes and he's all like, hello, like, kind of like Englishy, kind of Cockney accent. And, yeah, he was a nice guy, like, not too much to say about him. But he wasn't there all the time, and I think he left possibly because of the previous monk I told you about. So, all the rules and stuff for the monks, they're called Vinaya, I think it is. I think that's how you say it. And, once this English monk in one of his Dharma talks, he was saying, like, he was talking about what makes a good monastery, and he made an offhand comment of, like, well, you want the Vinaya to be good. You don't want to be a rotten monk. And I think he might have been referring to that previous lazy monk that I told you about. And then he left. And when he was leaving, someone asked him, like, oh, do you like it here? And he was like, well, no. Otherwise, why would I be leaving? Type thing. And he's like, I like the nature, I like the nature and the surroundings and stuff. He's like, and I was thinking, oh, fuck. So he likes the location, he just doesn't like us. But I don't know, I suspect it was because of that lazy monk. He left because of him. He didn't want to be part of a monastery that I guess kind of tolerated that improper Vinaya or improper discipline or whatever. And yeah, sometimes when we would go out and stuff, like occasionally we had to go on like shopping trips or this or that. That lazy monk, he would order like he would get like big like orders of like junk food, like takeout food. I was just like, what the fuck? It's not very monastic. Yeah. So they can't buy stuff, but they have to have a layperson or someone with them to handle like money and stuff. Then there was a nun. I'm not sure if she was Thai or not. She had, perfect English. She was another little Asian lady, and not much to say about her. She was just a really nice, like, cute little lady. Yeah, and but one time she got lost. That was quite funny. She went for a walk in the bush and like she lost her way and we had to like look for her. So that was kind of funny. And embarrassing for her, but yeah. Not that much to say about her. And then there were uh four main people who were like pretty much living there the entire time I was there. The first guy was this really, really annoying guy. Let's call him Denny. And he was really, really fucking annoying. He was like this tall, gangly, awkward looking guy. And he would always dress really stupid. Like he'd wear long pants and a shirt and like a little vest, like a waistcoat. And it just looked dumb. Like he would wear like a t-shirt and then like a waistcoat thing. It looked so stupid. And he always had really dry skin and chapped lips. And he was just like really annoying and depressing. Like everything he would say would be sad and depressing. um, and he was, I don't know if he ended up doing it. I don't think he did because he left at the same time as I left, but maybe he went back. I don't know. But he was thinking of ordaining, so like becoming a monk. Um, and he wanted me to do that too. He wanted me to become a monk. And I must have kind of said how like I agreed with the basic like philosophy of Buddhism and I wanted to practice meditation and stuff. But upon reflection, I didn't really feel like I was part of the religion of Buddhism with its doctrines and stuff. And I didn't actually know before I came that like there was so much of that. But he was constantly trying to like proselytize and like talk me around to that. And it was really annoying and he was really like annoyingly persistent with it. It just got so fucking irritating. And he was just so like lame and uncool. Like I just wanted to knock him out. Just wanted to punch his fucking head in. And he would do annoying stuff like when we would be doing group meditations, he'd like make noise, like he'd do little burps. Or I think he'd like sniff, like, you know, like snort with his nose. And one time he kept laughing, like he just kept like, just like giggling, like during a fucking long meditation. And I was sitting there just like fuming, being like, shut the fuck up. It was so, and I like had to sit there, I couldn't do anything. It was so annoying. And he said, when I accosted him about it after we finished, I was like, why do you keep laughing, bro? Like, you can't do that in the middle of a meditation. And he was like, oh, I was imagining that I was the Wicked Witch of the West. Well, I was like, well, fucking don't do that, cunt. Obviously, I didn't say it like that because we have to do noble speech or whatever. But I was like, well, can you not do that? And he was like, if I imagine something funny, I'm going to have a giggle. And I was like, no, cunt. Like, we're supposed to be like disciplining ourselves and like practicing proper meditation. You can't just giggle and laugh when everyone's trying to meditate in the same fucking room as you. Ugh, it's so aggravating. Makes me angry just thinking about that fucking fucker. Um, yeah, then there was this redhead guy. I don't need to think of another name because I forgot his name, but he was kind of like this short, redhead guy with like, yeah, freckly, like ranger guy. And he had like a high voice. He was all like, oh, hello, how you going? And he was a super nice guy. And he was really good at meditating. He would just sit like a rock. Like he would just get into his meditation posture. He would just like sit there and not move a muscle the entire time. He could sit for so long. And he'd done a bunch of Vipassana retreats, if you know what that is. And that's kind of a type of meditation where they just like, they don't do any stretches or yoga or anything. They just sit and they get used to sitting through like discomfort and pain and stuff. So that was really impressive. The thing is though, you need to be careful with doing stuff like that because, yeah, you have to be careful with that stuff because I heard a story about like a Thai nun who would just like sit and sit and sit and sit through pain and sit through discomfort. And she did nerve damage to her legs and ended up being in a wheelchair. So it's not necessarily just like good and virtuous to just sit through the pain type thing. And meditation isn't really about that. It's not about sitting through pain and sitting through discomfort. It's about like actually being able to concentrate on like the object you're meditating on, whether that's the breath or something else. So if you're just sitting there in like massive pain with stiff legs, that's not really meditation, like in my opinion. You're just fucking yourself up. Yeah, this dorky little redhead guy, he was talking about like what got him into like Buddhism and different stuff like that. And he talked about how he used to do like bodybuilding. He like pack all his meals and he'd always lift weights at the gym. And like he wasn't nice to his mom. He like wouldn't talk to his mom. He just like kind of grunt at her. You know, this must have been when he was in his late teens. I think it was in his like early 20s when he was there. And he felt really bad about it and stuff. And he was kind of like changing and making amends. And I was like, dude, that's not that bad. Like all teenagers like are kind of grouchy with their moms. Like you don't need to feel that bad about that. And he talked about how like he's like, oh, you know, in like Australia or whatever, like, you know, people are more judgmental. Like you try to talk to someone and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk too much to you. But he went to Thailand and stuff and like he was like, oh yeah, the people like they're so cool and like, you know, in the monastery, like everyone's just totally cool. And that's why he liked like Thailand and why he likes like Buddhism and monasteries and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. But inside I was kind of like saying, so it's cause you're lame. So it's cause you're lame and people don't want to talk to you. Okay. That's one motivation, I guess. Well, that's me being a dickhead. But he was a super nice guy as well. And I don't think he became a monk or anything. He was saying like, oh yeah, like their lives kind of like can end sadly, you know, they have like no one around them or anything. As opposed to if you have like a family, you know, they're like, oh, let's visit grandpa and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, okay. You really want to like have kids and stuff just so your grandparents, your grandchildren like visit you and stuff? Isn't that kind of selfish, like reason to bring new people into the world and shit? But I think that's how a lot of people think. Like they don't think, oh, should I have kids and stuff? They think, you know, I want to have kids and I want to have grandkids so I'm not lonely when I'm old. So that's why I'm going to do it. But that's another topic for another time. Then there was this guy, I'll use his real name because otherwise I can't tell this story. His name was Bryn, but he was a Kiwi. He was from New Zealand, a white guy from New Zealand. So when he would say his name, I'd be like, hi, what's your name? And he'd be like, Bryn. I was like, Bryn? What, Bryn? He's like, he'd have to be like, Bryn. I was like, oh, Bryn. Nice to meet you, mate. But when he would introduce himself, he'd be like, hi, I'm Bryn. What? You're fucking Bryn? So that was kind of funny. His accent meant that he couldn't even say his own name. I found that pretty hilarious. But he was probably my favorite like resident that lived there with us. He was pretty cool. It's hard to describe how he was cooler than the others, but he just wasn't dorky or annoying. He was just like quite cool. And he had done a cooking course. So, you know, he did some decent cooking in the kitchen and stuff. And he when he first got there, he was into working out. So he'd go for runs and he made like this log thing that he could like squat with as a weight. But then as time went on, he just got more and more into meditation and he was like, oh, why bother doing that kind of thing. But yeah, in the beginning, we talked about working out and stuff because I like used to be into that as well. And yeah, he was just kind of more cool, like more chill to like chat with and stuff. And he also found the book, Be As You Are by Ramana Maharshi, and he got really into that. And he started doing more kind of like self-inquiry, meditation type stuff. And like we kind of like bonded over that. Like we would talk about like, yeah, kind of that non-duality stuff. And that was cool to have someone to kind of share that with, I guess. And I'll go more into like all that non-duality stuff another time. Then there was this fucking crazy lady. It was this short little Asian lady who had a really like kind of squeaky, crackly, annoying voice. She was like, like, it just sounded so fucking awful. We'll call her Melinda. I fucking hated her. I have to admit. It's funny thinking about the monastery because you think of like you should be more peaceful and more like tolerant and everything. But the thing is, sometimes I would get really uptight and really like aggro at the monastery actually because there's nothing like suppressing all your issues and like irritations and stuff. Like you can't like you can't cover up your like mental noise and stuff with anything when you're there. So when someone annoys you, like the annoyance is like right there. Like you can't often you're doing like communal things, so you like sometimes you can't get away from them. And also like there's no like TV or like the internet or I don't drink or do drugs, but there's no like drinking or drugs or like even junk food that you can have whenever you want. Like there's none of that stuff to like push everything down. Like so you're very exposed. So if you get like annoyed and irritated and stuff, it's like right there and it's like and you kind of have to confront it in the moment. And trying to do all this like difficult meditation practice and follow all these rules and like not have all the stuff that people in life are usually addicted to, it is very like difficult and confronting. So even though you feel like you should be like all peaceful and stuff, it gets difficult and you do get kind of like aggro and stuff at times. And especially dealing with some of the retarded people you have to deal with when you're there, because it does attract kind of like some crazy and retarded people. And I admit that I probably fell into that category too. But yeah, this Melinda bitch, she was like this short little annoying Asian lady with a fucking crackly, squeaky, annoying voice. And she was trying to become a nun, but I was like, oh, okay, so you're gonna ordain, you're gonna be like become a nun? And she would always say, it depends on my practice. And for a long time, I didn't know what depends on my practice meant. So I was just like, oh, okay, and just went along with it. But what it must have meant was the Ajahn, like the abbot, was like trying to like delay and like not make her a nun and be like, well, we'll see how your practice goes, like how your practice of Buddhism goes, which was like, I think was a nice way of saying, I don't want you to live here as a nun because I think you're a fucking psycho. But I don't have grounds enough to just like kick you out or anything. So she was just staying there as a layperson. I can just imagine the conversation between her and the Ajahn. She'd be like, oh, Ajahn, I want to ordain. I want to become a nun. And he'd be like, oh, let's see how your practice goes. By which he meant, nah, I don't think so. You're a fucking psycho. I don't want you living here permanently. But yeah, she was a psycho and she'd always get mad at people and she'd always like be criticizing people and stuff. Um, yeah, she was really annoying. I remember this one time, uh, she was just like really going in on just like criticizing everything. And there was this like casserole in the kitchen window, and this guy, like the redhead guy, had set all the food out, and he'd said it like, and she was like, "Oh, don't put it that way. Turn it around because of this and because of that." And he was a really nice guy, and he was just like, "Oh, sorry." And I was like, "Bro, don't say sorry. Like, she's just criticizing fucking whatever. Stand up for yourself. Don't be a little bitch." I couldn't say don't be a little bitch because of the noble speech thing, but that's what I felt like saying. But yeah, she was fucking annoying. And it was funny one time, like she used to dye her hair black, but her hair was really grey. And like when she'd been there at the monastery for like that long that her hair had grown out and it was all grey, someone was like, "Oh, your hair's all grey," like, which was kind of rude. Someone commented on it. But she was like, she would kind of use Buddhism as a shield in a way. So when someone like criticized her, like, well, it's not really criticism, but when someone mentioned that, which she was insecure about, she would just be like, "Oh, it's the element, it's impermanent, it's this or that." And I was like, "Are you just saying random Buddhist terms?" Like, she would like, she would like refer to like Buddhist stuff as a way to deflect from things that like were confronting to her or she was insecure about, if that makes sense. And I think that's something like people do a lot with things like that. They become part of something, or they have some philosophy or group or religion, and they use it as like a kind of almost like a shield for their real personality and their real insecurities. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but hopefully you know what I mean. And one time this funny girl came and just visited for a while, who I really liked. I think she had a Thai background, and she was a kind of like plump, funny girl in like her 30s or something. I didn't like her like in an attraction way. I thought she was just a really like funny, refreshing person. And she would always be like calling out Melinda and like pissing Melinda off. And it was like just so hilarious. And something that happened with Melinda was like she was getting like attached to the Ajahn. She like had like a kind of infatuation with him. And this one time, like this funny girl was like, I think she was staying like in a hut near Melinda's hut, and or like there was some kind of different like 2-story like bigger hut where they were staying together or something. And apparently Melinda was like stomping around and like turning the light like on and off and like kind of going fucking mental. And the funny girl just like basically told everyone, including all the monks and everything, at one of the like morning sessions. She just like told all that to everyone, like, yeah, she was going crazy. And like in front of the Arjan and Melinda and Melinda herself and everyone, she was like, "Oh, Arjan, what would you do if I said like I was getting so attached to you and I'm gonna kill myself?" Because supposedly that's kind of like how Melinda was like, that's the kind of track Melinda was going down. She was kind of losing her shit, getting all infatuated with the Ajahn and just like kind of going mental. She was a total nutcase. And Melinda was just like fuming, like going red. And the Arjun was like, I'd say that wouldn't be very good. She created all these awkward moments that to me were just like fucking hilarious. But she only stayed a short time, and I was really sad when she left. I was like noticeably sad, and she was like, "Oh, you're sad, you're gonna miss me." And I didn't say so, but I was like, "Yeah, I am. You're just like a really honest, refreshing like presence in the monastery, like against this kind of crazy Melinda, like psycho bitch who uses like Buddhist terminology and stuff to mask how she's really feeling and stuff. And like this like lazy lazy fucking taking the piss monk and stuff. It was just really refreshing having her there. There was this other nutcase guy who stayed for quite a while. And this is the thing, like things like meditation and yoga and Buddhism, you think they're going to be all great, but they attract crazy people. So he was this white guy in about his 30s. And, I think he was about 30, but he looked younger. We all thought he was younger. And then he was like, I'm 30 or I'm 35 or something. We're like, what? Oh my God. But supposedly he was a psychologist. And I think he'd recently graduated with a psychology degree. But I was like, how can you be a psychologist if you're fucking nuts? And he had this weird thing. He was like, I don't eat anything. I just drink. I just drink liquid. It was the weirdest fucking thing. It was almost like weirder than all the weird diets I tried when I had anorexia. But yeah, he would refuse to eat anything. He would just drink liquid. I don't know how the fuck he survived. I don't know what he actually drank. He would drink, I think, soy milk, water. He would make little liquid concoctions of his own and stuff. But yeah, he was a fucking nutcase. What? Do you just shit out liquid? Do you just do diarrhea every single day? I really don't get it. And I don't get it how that is in any way beneficial. Just liquid. You're not allowed to eat. You're only allowed to consume liquid. That's fucking psychotic. And he did have some meditation experience, but one time we were doing a really long meditation and I needed to get up to go to the bathroom. So I got up to go to the bathroom and I saw him and he was sitting in a really shit meditation posture, not, sitting up straight or anything. I can't remember if he had his eyes open or closed, but he had his mouth open and he had his tongue hanging out and he was just shaking his head, just going not making a noise, but shaking his head like that, like a fucking retarded person. And kind of rocking back and forth like a crazy person. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I was really disturbed by it. And after the meditation session, as we were all walking back to our individual huts, I told Arjan about it. I was like, Arjan, that guy seems really weird. He was kind of opening his eyes and poking his tongue out and rocking back and forth and shaking his head. And Arjan was like, oh, yeah. I think he's just not used to long sittings. And I was like, not used to long sittings? He looks like a fucking psychopath. I'm scared he might fucking murder us all in our sleep. And I actually thought, is anyone here sane? We got the fucking lazy monk. We got fucking liquid boy over here. We've got fucking Melinda, the fucking psychopath. Is anyone normal here, or am I just in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of psychos? This Arjan bro, this Arjan guy is not, he doesn't seem to think that's weird. Is he cooked in the head too? So I remember this moment of being feeling really antsy, fuck. Am I gonna get fucking murdered in my sleep? Are all these people fucking psychos? But, nothing happened. I mean, I guess I was overreacting. And yeah, I saw that guy randomly at one time as I was walking back from the meditation hall. I saw that guy just kind of randomly in a kind of off the path, kind of in the bushes, kind of talking to himself and muttering to himself. And I don't know what he was doing, but I think he used to say some kind of mantra or something. And he had this little device that he would click to count how many times he had done it. You know how bouncers have that thing, they click how many people are going in and out of the club? This little handheld thing, county device thing. He had that and he was like clicking it. I'm like, what the fuck you counting, you fucking weirdo? He was so fucking weird. I felt so uncomfortable around him. Like, yeah, I was so sure he was a serial killer, but turned out, seems he was okay. He didn't actually kill anyone. And, yeah, I think he left eventually. There was this other guy that came, briefly. He was a bit older, maybe, like 40s. Yeah, 40 or 40s. So kind of like a short white guy with like a kind of scraggly graying beard. And, he had quite a bit of meditation experience too, I think. But he was like in a bad way, like in life. And he was kind of, yeah, having a hard time mentally and emotionally. And, like he eventually like he was staying in the monastery, everything was kind of normal. But then one time he just went missing. Like he just went missing and I don't think he even took all his stuff or anything. And yeah, I think yeah, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but he just like left in the middle of the night one night and like left most of his stuff. I think he might have left us a note or something. I can't remember. But yeah, everyone was really worried and like we were worried that he was gonna like do himself a mischief or that he had no place to go or that he was gonna kill himself or something. And I think he really was having like a hard time like mentally and emotionally. So yeah, we all went and looked for him and we couldn't find him and stuff. And I think we had some contact numbers, like maybe emergency contact or something. Or maybe we found some random like details in his stuff that he left behind. And it was like late at night and we were like calling people and like trying to call his family and stuff. And the redhead guy did a good job of it. He was like, called them up and he's like, hi, you don't know me, but, I'm friends with this other guy. He's been at our monastery and I think he's having a hard time. Like, do you know where he would be or blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. He was really good at that. He was a nice guy and, they were done with him. Like, they didn't want anything to do with him, which I thought was pretty brutal. Like, they're his family or whatever, although he is already in his 40s or whatever. But yeah, they were just like, we don't deal with him. We don't care. We don't want to know anything about it. And I was like, holy fuck. And I can't actually remember what happened with that guy. We didn't see him again, but maybe we heard from him and he was all right or something. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. The whole thing seemed to blow over, so maybe he contacted the Ajahn or something and we found out he was all right, but I actually can't remember. Then there was this other crazy girl and she just visited with, I think she might have been with one or two other people, I can't remember, but she was just crazy. She was always going on about something she called the deeper spiritual side of things. She would be all like, yeah, Buddhism's great, like it can make you feel like more peaceful and everything, but in the deeper spiritual side of things. And then she would launch into this fucking insane rant about reincarnation and spirits and all this like crazy stuff. And we'd just be like, all right. She was fucking nuts. She was really good on all her rants she would go on. And she told us that her family was all fucked up and there was incest in her family. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I don't think I've met another incest person like before or since. But I never found out. I guess it seems somewhat insensitive to ask. I never found out who fucked who, or if anyone fucked her or what, but yeah, she said there was incest in our family. And I was like, fuck. Are you a product of that incest? Because you seem pretty fucked. But when she was leaving, she fucking crashed her car like totaled her car. Like I told you about how there's a really bad winding road, like when you like to and from the monastery, like through all the bushes and trees and stuff. We found her car, like she must have called the monastery or something, but we found her car. It was like pretty much in a tree, like it was all the way off the dirt road. There was these huge skid marks. Her car was like flipped over, like pretty much like in a tree, like, and it destroyed all these bushes and trees on its way, like skidding off the road, and it was fucked. Somehow she was fine. She wasn't injured, and she was just like, we showed up, and she was just like, oh, hello. I was like, you're fucked. She was possibly the most fucked in the head person, and she was lucky she didn't fucking die. She was too fucked in the head to even drive, but yeah. So yeah, you know, it attracts some fucking crazy characters. There was another crazy guy who came to the monastery, I remember one time, and he was like having a talk with the Ajahn, like one-on-one, at one point, and then I came in for some reason, and he was like right up close in the Arjan's face, and he was all like not angry, but he was all like scared and nervous, and like I think he was like talking to Arjan about all his like mental problems and stuff or something, and I was like, "Whoa, is everything okay, Arjan?" And Arjan like got up and was like, let me get you some books from the library to get you to feel a bit more peace," like that. But what he was really doing was just like, I gotta fucking get away from this guy, kind of thing. And I was like, whoa, is this guy even safe? But he only stayed for like a day or something. He wasn't there for long. But Arjan was really upset about that. He was someone's friend or acquaintance, I can't remember whose. And he was getting mad at that person, being like, don't bring people here who don't understand Buddhism. Like, that's the way he phrased it. But I guess what he really should have said was like, please don't bring fucking retarded, crazy, psychotic people here who get up in my face and like, I don't even know if they're unsafe or unstable. But yeah, it is great, you know, like most of the time you're just practicing meditation and stuff like that, but it does attract these kind of crazy people that you sometimes have to deal with. So I did say they took most of the rules like seriously and stuff, apart from that one lazy monk who totally took the piss. But there were sometimes when they kind of didn't do that. One of the things was like if the Ajahn wanted to buy something off the internet, he couldn't, like the rules said that he couldn't spend money himself. So what he would do would be he'd go on the computer and he'd get right up to the point of purchase, and then he'd be like, hey, I need your finger. And then he'd get you to actually press the enter key of like buying what he wanted to buy. So it was a pure technicality that he didn't actually buy something because you were the one who actually pressed the enter key with your finger. But yeah, it was like a bending the rules to their absolute limit. But in his defense, he was there kind of by himself, like being the one who ran the monastery, like with no real help from anyone. So he kind of did have to do stuff like that for practical reasons, which I guess is better than just totally ignoring the rules. And that lazy monk, I remember one time we were burning off some like leaves and having like some bonfires, burning off like leaves and branches and stuff. And he had like a can of kerosene or whatever it was. And he was like, so as a monk, I can't start the fire, but I can like fuel the fire if you guys start it for me. So he got one of us to just like, light the fire. And after that, he just put the kerosene on, like tended to the fire, like did whatever he wanted. But we were the ones who technically started the fire. So it was like another pure technicality. It's kind of stupid. They are kind of stupid rules. So that's the dumb thing about religions and stuff, is that they invent like these like strict rules and stuff that aren't really meaningful, or they don't apply to different situations. And then because you're a follower of the religion, you got to try to follow them, but then naturally, like, you want to bend them and break them and stuff, because they're random rules. They don't always make sense for your situation, or they're just arbitrary or whatever. So that's why it's kind of silly. And I remember that Ajahn, one time we were digging for some reason. We were like digging holes and stuff, and he said like, "Hey, as monks, we're not allowed to dig the earth, but there's a way around it. Like, if you guys kind of like dig it out for us, then we can do it after that." Another one of like the same kind of things. It's like getting off on a technicality. Like, if we technically like dig and like disturb the earth first, then they can shovel it. It's like, if you're gonna take the piss with the rules that much, like, why even bother with them, So there were certain instances where they kind of did real like rule bendy kind of stuff, and it's like, do you care about these rules or not, type thing. So I feel like apart from the lazy monk, like, they were serious with like the general like vibe of the purpose of them being there, but yeah, they did do quite a bit of kind of rule bending. And maybe that's why that English monk didn't want to stay there. Maybe he viewed that as, not good Vinaya and being a rotten monk and not wanting to be a part of that, possibly. So, yeah, I really liked being at the monastery overall. But some visitors who came there said it was like jail. They said it was like we were in jail because we couldn't leave. Like, obviously, if you want to leave, forever and go out and live your life, like, then you can leave. Like, it's not like a cult where they stop you from leaving. But if you're staying there, you can't leave and come back and leave and come back, like, at will, because then it's obvious you're not really staying there with the right motives and taking part in everything. So yeah, you can't just come and go as you please, like, and there's structure for everything, like when you work, when you meditate, when you go to the Dharma talks and stuff, when you eat, everything's like structured, and you're just in like a little hut, which, I mean, it's a meditation hut, but I guess I can see the parallel of it being like a cell, like a jail cell. But you're there voluntarily, obviously. And yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do, like no phone, no computer, no entertainment, no society, nothing. And they're like, damn, this place is like a prison. And I was kind of sad, like kind of hurt that they would say that, because I'm like, well, we're here for a purpose, we're trying to, learn meditation and like figure out life and philosophy and do something that's kind of deep, and you're kind of shitting on it. But I guess I understand why they would say that. And I remember one time when we went on a shopping trip, we had to go like to an actual city and go into like a proper big shopping center and everything. Man, it was overstimulating, like, after being in the monastery. And I remember seeing like a big ad with like an almost naked chick on it. So it was probably like an ad for like perfume or lingerie or something. And she was naked except for like ribbons covering her actual tits and her private parts. And I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, like, yeah, it was like so like in your face. I'm like, geez, like, this stuff is just around in like normal life. Like, I'd kind of forgotten about that. it was so like overstimulating and like in your face. And like just being out of the monastery was so like so crazy. After you've just been like most of your time is alone, you're just meditating, sitting meditation, walking meditation, walking through the wilderness, just like being by yourself or listening to Dharma talks, seeing the same 4 or 5 people like every day over and over again. No music. You're not even allowed music there. Um, yeah, going back into the real world is so overstimulating. And seeing that ad, it was like a big billboard, like but within like inside a shopping center. I was like, holy fuck, the real world is like very sexualized. So yeah, everything was kind of like shocking and overstimulating after that. But yeah, so I told you a lot of the more like crazy and interesting stuff that happened in the monastery, like some of the crazy people I met and stuff. But it's not like crazy stuff was happening all the time. I just told you all that because it's interesting and noteworthy. But the main thing in the monastery was just the vast stretches of time that are just kind of like nothing. Like you're just sitting meditating, or you're doing walking meditation, just walking back and forth. Or you're just by yourself, like in the bush, in the wilderness, or in your meditation hut, or doing some kind of simple tasks, whatever, raking leaves or, digging a hole or doing some gardening, like no music, like very little talking, like heaps and heaps of silence. And you're just watching your thoughts. You're really like going deep into like meditation and mindfulness and watching your thoughts and getting to know and become aware of and understand your mind and all your mental processes and stuff. And it can be really, like internally, it can be really confronting and hectic and intense because all the stuff you're usually trying to cover up and run away from in regular life, you have no way to run away from it. Like you have to face it all. So it's pretty crazy. It can be like quite confronting. But overall, like I'm really glad I had that time. And I was kind of done, like I'd kind of had enough of it after 5 months. And the last few months, like um I had to either commit to staying there or leave beforehand because they have something called the Rains Retreat, and like you have to either stay and complete the whole thing or like not be there for it. It's like kind of like the monastery being in a kind of lockdown in a way. And there's like more meditation, more intense practice, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really glad I went there and had that experience and like learned everything I learned there. And I I know I talked a bit of shit in this episode and the last episode, but I really do think of it fondly. Like I think back fondly and it makes me feel a bit emotional, like thinking about thinking about the monastery, and thinking about like yeah, the times I had there and stuff. And I think it was a good thing that I was trying to do. I was really trying to figure myself out while I was there. And yeah, it makes me kind of emotional, like thinking about some of the chants and stuff we did. Like we did like chanting. They had it in Pali, which is like the kind of traditional Buddhist language, but they also had it in English. And I remember this one chant that we had. It's called the Metta Sutta, and we did it in English, and I really liked it. I can still remember like the start of it. It's like, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let him be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied." Like it goes like that. And it's just really nice. It's just talking about like being a good person basically. So it is really cool. So yeah. So that's a bit about my time in the monastery where I lived, and it was really cool, and I'm glad I did it, and I wouldn't mind doing maybe not like giving up my whole normal life and everything, but I'd love to do some kind of meditation retreats and stuff again sometime. And I've kind of really fallen off with meditation since then, but nowadays I'm trying to get back into it and like have a proper practice of it again. So yeah, I'll let you know how I go with that because I'm kind of in the process of that. But yeah, that's it for today. That's my time in the monastery, and next time I'll tell you kind of what happened when I was like leaving the monastery and the various other adventures and shit that I went on after that. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you maybe got something out of it or learned something or something to that effect. Thanks heaps for listening. I super appreciate it, and I'll talk to you again next time.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.